want to begin now with a series of tutorials that have to do with creating and manipulating geometry in SeaDAS. I have a scene here of the Mediterranean region. Just it's been reprojected. It's been cropped down to this area just so you understand what you're looking at. I've set the no data color to black, but then I've also turned on the cloud ice mask so you have some idea of pixels that the SST algorithm thought were probably clouds. Okay, you can see there's probably some glint going on here. We're not really going to worry about that, but there's the moderate glint and there is the high glint. So that's, not really salient to what we're going to do here. Now in the file manager, you have all of these categories of objects and bands and so on. The vectors include by default pins, ground control points, text annotation. I've overlaid a coast, so that's also listed in the vectors here. When I begin adding geometry, we're going to add objects to this vectors collection here. And that's handled in these tools here in the toolbar. Okay, typically you're in this hand or pen tool mode where you can click and drag to move the scene or scroll to zoom in and out. Be aware you have a selection tool and a zoom tool here, but next to them are these create a new vector data container, drawing tools for rectangles, ellipses, polygons, lines, polylines, and there's a tool for entering coordinates in what's called WKT or well-known text format, okay, which we will talk about as we go along here. What's really important to note is that when you begin to draw geometry with these drawing tools, you change the behavior of the cursor. Everywhere you click and drag and click becomes geometry when you're in one of these drawing tools. So the important thing to remember is to get out of the drawing mode when you don't want to be in it. Okay, but first I need to talk about these containers. And so when I click here, I get a prompt dialog box for a geometry container. It gives it a generic name, geometry underscore and some number that will rise as you create more containers. Let's create one with an actually meaningful name. I could give it a description string. It's up to you, but at least give it a meaningful name. And when I click OK, over here in the file manager, I see a new object in the vectors, and it's our geometry container. If I look in the layer manager, it's appeared there as well. If I look in the mask manager, it's actually not listed down here at the bottom because we actually don't have any geometry in it yet. When we go to add geometry, we will see masks begin to appear. Okay, so I can create as many of these as I want for keeping geometry in a separate container that I can manipulate individually. Okay. The other part of geometry or these containers is that I can delete them. So I can select either one of these. I can go to the edit menu and I can delete, and it obliterates that from my data session. Okay, so we are now back to only having Adriatic. If I created the Mediterranean as another one, again, it shows up in the layer manager and the file manager. But if I go here and I select one of these, use the edit menu to delete, So I can create and delete containers for geometry as I wish. Now it's important to note that if I create a new geometry, I dirty the file, and I would need to save uh, my dim file session to include that geometry in my saved work. So be aware of that. So keeping this very short, I'm just going to stop here on just the container tool. You should use it liberally, give meaningful names, and you understand how to delete them and keep your workspace clean and saving your work as you go along.